say the world don't need us anymore. Say the old school ways are gone for sure. Call it toxic when a man stands tall, but who they call when it hits the wall? While they sipping double shots of espresso foam, arguing feelings on a microphone. I'm clocking exits when I walk in a room. Back to the wall, so don't bring the doom. Yeah, I still open doors, still bow my head, still mean what I say what I say. They can laugh, call it outdated pride, but I was built for the storm outside. You can label me wrong, you can say I don't belong, but when the wolves start circling round, I'm a sheepdog in a city of sheep. Boots in the dirt, little talk, less sleep. One eye open while the world sleeps. That's just the man in me.
The year was 2019. We didn't know what a pandemic was, and we had no idea how much the world was going to change. But what we talked about was timeless and classic and still relevant today. So sit back, relax, and see how we did it back in the day. It's a retro podcast with Ron Lyons and Brad Kaufman.
Brad, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. How about yourself, brother?
I'm doing good. It's dark times in the world, though. It's sad times right now. As we record this, we're right on the heels of yet another mass shooting. This one in Midland, Texas, somewhere that I've spent a lot of my previous years going back and forth between Midland. Still have family out there, so you know it's never a good thing when this kind of stuff happens. But unfortunately, it does. It is the world we live in right now, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But the good news is, you don't have to be a victim.
That's right. And whether you're on your way to work, you're at work, you're in law enforcement, you're military, you're retired, you're a soccer mom, you don't have to be a victim.
So we're gonna cover a little bit of that today. We're gonna go over. We're not gonna get too deep into the psychology and stuff because we all know it's a broken world we live in, and we all know the kids aren't being raised right, and all that kind of stuff. We could talk about that quite a bit. But what we are gonna do is we're gonna touch a little bit on some of these things, and we're gonna move into what you can do to ensure that you're not a victim. So, anyways, Brad. Update me just a little bit. Tell me what you know about this last shooting that just happened in Midland.
Well, according to the news reports, and again, take the media for what it is, and even though some of my former coworkers from ATF are up in the Midland, Odessa area, assisting the local police department, DPS, and FBI's on board as well. What we do know is that the shooter was not prohibited. He was not a convicted felon. He wasn't an adjudicated mental deficient. He was not an illegal alien. He was just somebody that had some issues at work, apparently got fired Saturday morning, left the job, called the FBI and ranted and raved, and they did not catch any red flags or determine that he was an instant threat. And shortly thereafter, a couple of Texas DPS troopers pulled him over for a turn signal infraction. And as one of the troopers was walking up, the POS pulled out an AR-style firearm, and I believe he shot the trooper through the backseat window, or the window was down, and shot the trooper, and then things ensued from there.
That's right. So I understand that there was about a 15-minute time period between the call to the FBI, which was like a rambling phone call with no threats apparently, and then the time that the troopers actually made the stop. So there's, even if there was threats and stuff, I don't know, in 15 minutes, there's not a whole lot you can do about that.
Makes you wonder if this AR-style firearm was in his car with him when he got fired, or did he go home and get it in the heat of the moment? He said, hey, I'm going to wreak some havoc. I'm going to rain some hell. I'm going to shoot some people on my way out. But regardless, sadly, he's taken 7 lives, if not more, since we started this broadcast here a few minutes ago. Plenty of people are in the hospital. I believe some of them are low sick or super critical as well.
I think that the deal is, this is, every single time this happens, one of the biggest debates that takes place is obviously that of gun control. So I know that there is, a lot of emotion involved in this. And you and I, having been former law enforcement officers, we've certainly seen our fair share of, people who've been shot and all that sort of thing. And oddly enough, both having been police officers, we still both avidly support the Second Amendment. And we were the guys that were out on the street actually facing guns and stuff like that. So why is it that cops in general, with very few exceptions, still support the Second Amendment so much? Why is it that we think it's okay for your normal citizen, not your, not the exceptions, not the mental cases, not stuff like that, but why is it still acceptable to us? Why don't we want all the guns banned?
Because only bad guys will have the guns. We're not worried about mom and pop. We're not worried about the store owner. We're not worried about each other. We're not worried about our spouses, our girlfriends, our fiancés. We know their psychology. And somebody might say, well, you just never know who's going to commit suicide. You're right. You never do. But there are warning signals thrown out. And the adage, see something, say something, does not take place. Everybody is hiding in the shadows, and they don't want to narc out. They don't want to pimp out. They don't want to call the popo and let them know that, a neighbor's acting psychotic and he's walking around with guns or he's making threats, Well, I called somebody, but they didn't do anything.
Well, and that's the thing, is now we're all so afraid of being offensive. Well, not all of us. I don't know that you and I are that concerned about being offensive to anybody. I'm not.
Let alone each other.
Exactly. But but we are the exception to that rule. I think that most people in this day and age are ready to be offended for anything, and you certainly wouldn't want to say something bad about your neighbor or something like that could be terribly offensive. So we have this really messed up society right now where all of those dynamics are just coming together and making like a perfect storm, and the result of that is what we see like in Midland, in Ohio, and Columbine, and you name it, all over.
And Texas has experienced that twice now in the span of a month between El Paso and Midland, Odessa. But as we have spoken on our previous shows, clearly for you and I, the lack of God in home, in church, in school has led us to be a godless society. You and I went to high school with rifles in the back window on a gun rack.
Very, very, very often did you see trucks in the parking lot at high school and, rifles, shotguns in the windows of the truck. It was very common.
And they weren't broken into while we were in class for 6, 7, 8 hours. Somebody wasn't out in the parking lot fiddle farting around with it, threatening to shoot the principal or a teacher or their classmates, laying in the tree line while someone else pulls the fire alarm and start shooting kids bailing out of the doors.
Exactly. So it's a different world, and you can go right now and you can argue all you want. You can be a social justice warrior, and you can take to Facebook and you can get those little fingers and those little keyboards fired up, and you can talk all day long about how we shouldn't be here as a society and, all this kind of stuff. And you can argue all day long also, if you want to, that, we shouldn't have guns. We shouldn't have, assault weapons and, all that kind of nonsense and stuff. But the bottom line is, you're not going to fix this problem quickly. There's so many things that have to happen. It's taken us some time to get here. We're not getting out of this tomorrow. So in the meantime, while you're sitting behind your keyboard and getting all wound up on Facebook and preaching to the masses, what you ought to be doing is considering how you can protect yourself and the people that you love. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're spot on. You're 100%. And again, as I said at the beginning of the show, it doesn't matter if you're retired or on the job, military or law enforcement. You could be soccer mom, soccer dad. If you're out and about, you should have what you and I consider not just a everyday carry kit, but you should have a IFAC or a trauma kit or a GSW kit. And we'll talk about the nuances and the particulars and what those acronyms mean. But be prepared.
Well, and I think something else that's very interesting right now is that, well, let's just back up one step. Let me just ask you this. Like, if I take away your gun, because you're an avid gun owner, if I take away your gun, are we going to stop any of this mess by me taking away your gun?
No. In fact, I won't be able to stop it if it's anywhere near me.
Because every single day you're out there in the world, you're armed, I'm armed, we're out there in the world. You know that people are protected. They're safer because we're out there armed than if we were not. And the thing is, they don't even know we're armed unless you're, someone close to me, a friend or family member. You probably don't even know I've got a weapon on me. Same with you. You're always armed, which means if some crap goes down in the middle of a Walmart or something, wherever you're at, you might be able to do something about that. But if you're unarmed, the only thing you're going to get to do is maybe mess your pants and hide and pray.
And then you become a sheep instead of a sheepdog. Find me a sheepdog that is no longer a sheepdog. Maybe not as aggressive as he or she was when they were on the job or in the military. Thank God for our brothers and sisters in the military. But sheepdogs and wolves exist in our society, and what are we going to do? Are we going to pull out our retired credentials and say, retired federal agent, retired police officer, stop doing that?
But it doesn't really matter because you know what? We have gun-free zones, right? We have zones where guns aren't allowed, so guns are not allowed at schools. That's why you never see a shooting like at a school.
No, never. I mean, it was a federal crime back in the 90s to have a gun within, a couple hundred feet of a school. And we all laughed at that. Yeah, like the bad guy, the POS was just going to stop at that spot. Like, oh, look. Hey, Tim, it says no guns by the school zone. We better back up.
Yeah, that's not, it never has worked and it's not going to work. You cannot regulate away evil. You cannot outlaw evil. It's going to exist. And if you want to look at like everything else that's been regulated and we've got laws for driving while intoxicated, for drugs, for stealing things, for writing hot checks, there's laws for everything. And guess what? They all still exist.
You have to have a license to go fishing. You have to have a license to go hunting. You can't go to the Super Bowl without a ticket. So how do you get to this country free and illegally? You don't. You have to go through a process. You have to buy guns legally and lawfully. But that doesn't prevent the bad guy, the POS, the knucklehead, the malcontent from doing what he's going to do.
That's exactly right. So there's not enough laws that are going to like stop this. And we can't take away everybody's guns and expect that this is going to stop the problem. It's just not. So given that, you start to say, you need to be prepared. You need an IFAC. You need some sort of a blowout kit. You need some first aid, some trauma. You need some sort of a kit to be able to deal with those situations when they do happen. And I would even go so far as to say maybe having a backpack that has ballistic panels made in it could be something useful today in this day and age. Sadly, it's true. Backpacks have been around forever, but now guess what? You can get backpacks now that are actually rated to stop a certain level of ballistics. And it's maybe not a terrible idea in this day and age to have that.
Not at all. I mean, think about you and I driving our personal cars now. We've got that backpack that has ballistic protection. We have inside of it a small ballistic vest or maybe our old plate carrier or something from our past to supplement the fact that we do carry a firearm every day. And we drive up on a police officer that's pulled somebody over. The violator's gone, but the officer, the trooper's laid out on the concrete. What better time to have a first aid kit for yourself, for somebody else, for your kids, for everyday carry, for CHL owners. My God, if you carry a gun as a CHL owner in the state of Texas and you don't have a blowout kit, please leave your gun at home. You do no one any good. And besides, taking an 8-hour class doesn't justify you to be a concealed carry expert. Look, a master carpenter doesn't just pick up a circular saw and start cutting miter joints without years of experience and apprenticeship. The same with a gun. If you carry the gun, carry a GSW, an IFAC, a blowout kit.
Let's go into that just a little bit. Let's talk about what are all those things? So GSW, what's that?
Gunshot wound.
So
kit.
a gunshot wound kit. So is that different than your average first aid kit? Because, everybody has a first aid kit at home probably. Is that the same thing?
No, I think the addition of a tourniquet, some combat gauze, and that's not to say a first aid kit at your house is any different, but so many first aid kits in our homes don't have a combat action tourniquet, a tourniquet of any means at home. Granted, you have a belt that could double as a tourniquet,
but it's not built into the kit. And those home kits, they're built for insect stings and
cuts,
minor scrapes and cuts and stuff like that. They're not made for, a round that was just fired through your ass, basically. It's completely different.
Absolutely. And the addition of combat gauze, which is gauze, and you're stuffing the wound now. You're not just putting it on topically and applying pressure. You're literally taking finger over thumb and pushing that gauze to get to that arterial bleed to get it to stop.
Absolutely. And like you said, a real tourniquet, because you could stick a belt on there, but if you don't know how to time the release and the tightening and the releasing and the tightening, you're not really going to save anything. You may end up actually creating a bigger problem.
And you're not going to be able to tighten a belt over somebody's thigh or their arm where it's got a belt doesn't have holes in it to get it around a 16-inch arm. But a combat action tourniquet, a tourniquet does. And it also has a spot on that tourniquet where you can put the time down on it so that the medical professionals know that it's been on there for an hour or 30 minutes or whatever it may be. Right. And the tourniquet stays in place. And the old adage for us is put it on high or you die. High in the groin, high up on the arm. If you got a gunshot wound in your wrist, you don't put it below the elbow. You don't put it above the elbow. You put it up in their armpit at the very top of their humerus or their tricep and bicep. You get it up high.
So, and then you mentioned the term IFAC.
Individual first aid kit. Something police officers more and more are carrying on their gun belt, their Sam Brown, as we call them with Dallas. That individual first aid kit is just that. You want to use a kit for somebody else from them. You want your own kit to be used on you. If you're solo, you're by yourself, then you're going to have to apply that kit. And there's so many stories of medical valor, combat troops overseas that have applied tourniquets on their own bodies and saved themselves. But everyone has, overseas, everyone has an IFAC. And if your buddy goes down, you use his kit. If you go down and it's just the two of you, you use your kit. But as a homeowner, as a retired, as a off-duty, soccer mom, soccer dad, businessman, have a first aid kit in your office, in your briefcase, in your backpack, in your vehicle. You might need it just for an accident, let alone an active shooter.
And so that's kind of the thing. So you don't necessarily have to be armed. You don't have to be a CHL holder or an RTC or anything like that. You could literally be just an everyday average person going about your normal life. And if I'm understanding you properly, you should still have some sort of an upgraded first aid kit, just because we live in a world now where you may need something like that, even if you don't have means to return fire.
Without a doubt. I mean, you're talking about a tourniquet, combat gauze, compresses, CPR shield, latex gloves, a myriad of other items, scissors, maybe some iodine, a chest seal for somebody having a heaving chest wound, an NP tube, nasopharyngeal, where somebody's having a hard time breathing. And with a good first aid class, you'll learn how to apply that NP tube down somebody's nasal way, nasal passage. Is it the left nostril or is it the right nostril? Find the medical professional, and he'll tell you what's best suited based on what you see. But having that upgraded kit, besides the homeowner's scrapes and bee stings and Band-Aids and little incidentals.
Right. And I think that it's a very, very sad thing, but we actually at Lyons Tactical, we sell ballistic backpacks for both kids and adults. And so just focus on that for a second. Ballistic backpacks for kids. You send your kids to school basically with body armor. I mean, and it sucks. I mean, let's say it how it is. It sucks. That's the world, though. And you shouldn't have to send your 6-year-old or your 8-year-old into school and say, if this happens, if somebody comes in and starts shooting a gun, here's what I want you to do. But guess what? That's what we have to do now.
Unfortunately, yes. Over in Israel, they teach you to fight back. You get out of high school, you become a conscript. You get drafted. It's not a matter of, 1 in 10 volunteers or 2 in 10 actually join the military. In Israel, everyone goes into the army upon graduating from high school. They're squared away. They take care of terroristic threats. They have a mindset for God and country. And it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Christian, Gentile or Jew.
And that's the sad thing, is that in that country, you have to live a life like that. And I just saw a picture the other day, and in fact, I shared it around on Facebook, and it's a picture of a woman, and she's got a carbine over her shoulder and a baby in her arm. And that's life.
Yes.
That's life.
And they live that way. But it's not living paranoid. I was telling my homeowners association the other night about not answering the door at 2 a.m. And I got feedback. I got blowback. Well, what does our neighborhood come to? I'm like, well, sadly, the bad guy that wants to do a home invasion robbery gets his girlfriend to feign an accident or a medical emergency, bangs on your door, hoping you'll open the door up. Because when you live in a neighborhood that has nice things, appears to have nice things, bad things happen.
That's right. They're going to come to where the good stuff is. They're not going to go, beat down the door of somebody and go in and steal stuff when they have nothing. They're going to come to you when you've got good stuff. And that's what happens. We've got a mall here in North Dallas, and the mall itself is one of the best, nicest malls you'd ever want to go to. But there's so much stuff that happens in the parking lot of that mall because the surrounding area, it's so easy. All of your targets are right there in that parking lot. The people who have the nice jewelry and the handbags and drive the nice cars, they're all right there, and they're very susceptible.
And everyone's always surprised when that lone murder happened, I believe, last year. And they're like, wait a minute, this is our mall. And I worked that area as a rookie Dallas police officer, and I would drive the alleys and find open garage doors and tell people to close them because they were setting themselves up to be victims. And then I would get called on and complained because I woke them out of bed at 11:30 on my way home back to the station. And lo and behold, I would tell them, hey, look, when you wake up at 6 a.m., your car's going to be stolen, broken into, or they're going to have your garage door opener. Don't be a victim.
Or even worse. I mean, the good thing is that, this is truly, we have eroded into the point that we're at right now. So like you said earlier, we used to be a society where guns were respected. Lots of people had them. I mean, I was a little kid going out with both of my grandparents, actually. Both of my grandfathers on both sides took me out at a very young age and had me shooting 22 pistols and 22 rifles and stuff like that. I understood about guns before I probably could ride without training wheels. And now the only experience that kids have with guns is on video games, which is probably not the best educator for that. And then you have all of this lack of respect and lack of discipline and all of this crap going on. And then you have kids who don't know how to, deal with their emotions. So they lash out, and they lash out in big, ugly ways. And then you just have a lot of mental illness and stuff out there right now. So you've got to change your way of living right now. If you want to survive in the United States of America in 2019 and moving forward, don't think for 1 second that next year is going to be better, or next year it's only going to get worse. And so you've got to start being proactive right now, in my opinion, and get yourself trained, get your mindset right, get the gear that you need, and survive. And that's, yes, people, that's the world we live in.
And parenting has to increase. Without parenting, my former neighbor, I don't get it that my son's not learning what he's learning. I'm like, well, why isn't he? Well, he comes home and he says, Mom, I didn't understand X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, how long is he in class for? And she responded, 6 hours. I'm like, well, where is he the other 18 hours? And she goes, at home. I'm like, well, maybe that responsibility lies with you, the mother, the parent. Quit shrugging your shoulders and shoving it off onto somebody else and blaming the school. Start disciplining your kids. Make sure they know obedience. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. And you're taking that phone away from them. Have a conversation with your child. Go to dinner with your spouse and leave the phone off. And maybe pray over your meal, pray over your family, and thank God that this morning you woke up. God has plans for you for today and hopefully tomorrow.
I think what you're saying is that we're a godless and a valueless society. Like, we don't value things the same that we used to. And we've largely just moved away from God. And so in that vacuum, guess what comes in? And it's not good.
The devil.
You got it. So it's an evil world. Let's talk a little bit about these ballistic backpacks and stuff. So is it crazy to think that you need to send your kid to school with a ballistic backpack? Is that too much right now, or is that a wise idea?
Guess whose kid's going to be hopefully saved with that ballistic backpack?
So you don't think it's too fearful? Because, you can't even get in the school without checking in at the office. There's always like a middle-aged, lady at the desk managing the door. So you don't think that there's much chance that somebody could get past that, do you?
Oh, no. She'll stop everyone and anyone that looks to be suspicious. I like the schools that are now hiring returning military members, retired military, retired law enforcement. Put them in the schools with carbines. Too many police departments have to take their patrol officers off the street and make them school resource officers. But they don't have just one school. They're flexing between schools. For the municipalities and the school districts that can afford one SRO per school, that's awesome. But for the ones that can't, like I said, pay a veteran to live at that school during classroom hours and make him proactive, make him seen, and let everybody know that your school is protected by a veteran who is armed.
So obviously if you're a fan, which you are, of putting retired military and probably retired law enforcement, et cetera, in the schools, then certainly sending your kid to school with a ballistic backpack, not even a thought. That's easy.
Absolutely. And if that SRO is not there, then like you said, your website carries those ballistic backpacks. You carry ballistic vests. And more importantly, for all of us, from teenagers and above, and maybe a little bit older than teenagers, but giving them first aid kits. In fact, these teenagers that are driving, they should have first aid kits. Where do you put it that it's always accessible? The same place in both of my vehicles. It's lashed to the headrest of both cars.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think that I honestly, can't say that one of these ballistic vests, it's a backpack is what it is. And when you unzip it, essentially, it's got panels that have maybe Velcro on them. There's a method that, each one deploys essentially, and they're for adults and for kids. So they're available for both, for all different sizes and that sort of thing. But, if somebody comes in and is firing a rifle, you're probably not going to be able to stop that round with one of these vests. But you had a statistic earlier that says that these assault rifles, and I say that with my fingers in the air, these assault rifles, that's not really the primary weapon of choice in most of these mass shootings. What is it?
9mm handgun.
So if I have a 2A or a 3 or a 3A ballistic vest on, I stand a pretty good chance against most of your 9mm rounds now.
Correct.
So I think I'm probably going to be okay. It does nothing to protect your head, does nothing to protect your lower torso. But wouldn't you rather have a little protection than no protection?
Without a doubt.
And I think that, I don't know at what age it is that we need to start teaching this, but, to me and probably to you as well, because we've discussed this before, your primary weapon is your mindset. You can do just about anything if you've got the appropriate mindset. I can't expect my little 6-year-old to know, how to survive a mass shooting right now. But when she's 16, you better believe it.
Again, it comes back to raising your kids the way our brothers and sisters do in Israel. It starts at home, and it concludes with being a conscript into the Israeli Defense Force. You learn it, you breathe it, you breed it. They don't have this problem that we have here, and everyone has firearms. This is the United States of America. You take our guns away, only the bad guys will have them, and the sheep will still be doing sheepdog shit, but the wolves will still be taking advantage of all the sheep that are out there.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you hesitate? I know whenever you took that oath and you swore in, and you were a Dallas police officer and you were a federal law enforcement officer, you gave an oath on both of those jobs to give your life to protect other innocent lives. When you retired, when you rolled out of the job, did that stop for you, or would you still do that today, right now?
I would do it today, right now. I might think a little bit longer. As I've said, and as you have said, better to be an alive witness than a dead victim and just jump in and be a Superman, because we all know what Murphy's Law does for law enforcement and military, but be a good witness. And because we have that sheepdog mentality and we don't check it in at home and we don't turn it off when we're out and about, from everyday carry, people wouldn't know what we have on our person or in our pack or in our bag or in our trucks. But we're just not going to stand there and not do something.
That's right.
Apply first aid, get involved in the shooting, pick up the phone and give a good witness description, and go tend to the police officer that's down, as opposed to just filming him getting beat up, shot at, and then posting the video and saying, look, this is what I did. No, you didn't do anything. You just elevated yourself and put that video up on YouTube and sold it to the local TV instead of doing something.
Exactly, which basically makes you not too many notches better than the piece of crap that's out there actually trying to hurt innocent people.
Yep.
So, all right. So, yeah, it's a sad time. It's a sad day and age, but you can do something about it. You've got some options and gear. You've got some things like that are available to you. It's not an easy deal to think that you need to be prepared with this trauma gear, that you need to have this stuff available, but you do, because you don't know when that same Walmart you've been going to for years is now going to be the scene of another mass casualty situation. And you can, like I said, you can sit back on your computer and you can pop out that Facebook damage all you want to, but you're not going to change the world on Facebook. So your best bet for right now, while all of this dynamic is taking place, is to be sure that you can protect yourself, that you can tend to other victims, and that you may be able to actually throw some lead down range in the event that you need to, if that's something that's, within your abilities and your desire. In other words, to be armed and trained. Am I off on that?
No. And with that, being disciplined and being concealed with your carry. You and I met an associate last week, 2 weeks ago, and his gun on his plain sight, clearly not concealed. He's having coffee with a friend, and all we're doing is looking at him thinking, all right, this place gets hijacked. He's probably going to be the first one shot because the hijacker's going to see that he's armed and he has no discipline because he's wearing the wrong T-shirt, the wrong shirt, or guys that always have, for me, I'm always looking for knives in pockets. You know, a lot of cops and firefighters carry their knives in their front pocket. Well, to me, that 9 times out of 10, they're either firefighter or police. My preference is it all gets concealed because I'm being disciplined and not being made out by the bad guy as off-duty, undercover, retired, on the job, whatever it may be.
Well, and I tend to agree with you about that. I think there's a lot to be said for that. I still carry mine in my pocket right now, but it's because I'm a little too fat.
And you have big shirts that cover everything up.
I want to carry mine like you do. I want to be a hero like that, but I can't.
Well, you have the waistline to carry a lot of things on your waistline.
Didn't we talk about this in another show? Didn't we already cover this before?
But you're losing weight, so your waistline is getting smaller.
You'll know when I feel like I've made it because my blade, my EDC blade is going to disappear, and you're going to think I just forgot it. But
no, it'll be next to your gun. So while your waistline is getting smaller, your head is appearing to get bigger.
That's right. I'm going to be like, check this out. You can't see it, can you? It's all hidden.
You're going to be wearing an 8 7/8 size hat, and I'll still be at a 7 7/8.
Actually, if you want to know something really sad, I'm pretty sure I wear like a 10 and a half.
10-gallon, maybe.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today. It is definitely a different world. Go to lionstactical.com. We've put together a small package that we think could give you some peace of mind, and it's included the backpack, the ballistic panel type backpack, and we've got a couple of different options on there for depending on, if you wanted to find something for a child, something for a teenager, something for an adult. And these bags are functional. They actually hold gear. You can use them. They look like an everyday backpack, but in the event that, bad things start happening, with a couple of, quick maneuvers, that thing turns into a ballistic protective vest for your upper body. And the gunshot wound kits, the GSWs, the IFAKs, the trauma kits, we've got all of those things, and we put some of this stuff together for you. So go to lionstactical.com. On the front page, you're going to see a link down towards the bottom that's going to take you to the mass shooter type gear. And it's sad that that's got to be on the website. I'd love so much to not have to have stuff like that on there, but it is the day and age we live in. It is the world we live in, and it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future. I just don't see it changing tomorrow. So anyways, Brad, any final words?
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor through all things. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. So until our next show, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll see you on our next show.
They say the world don't need us anymore. Say the old school ways are gone for sure. Call it toxic when a man stands tall, but who they call when it hits the wall? While they sipping double shots of espresso foam, arguing feelings on a microphone. I'm clocking exits when I walk in a room. Back to the wall, so don't bring the doom. Yeah, I still open doors, still bow my head, still mean what I say what I say. They can laugh, call it outdated pride, but I was built for the storm outside. You can label me wrong, you can say I don't belong, but when the wolves start circling round, I'm a sheepdog in a city of sheep, boots in the dirt, little talk, less sleep, 1 hour